Learn to crochet Jax the Raptor. This is a quick crochet project where gauge doesn't matter. Use a worsted weight yarn for a pocket pal or a bulky yarn for a plush, squishy dinosaur. This free dinosaur crochet pattern makes for a really sweet gift, especially when paired with our Have a Roarsome Birthday magical crochet greeting card. The printed greeting card also comes with a downloadable ad-free PDF pattern. Pairing your handmade crochet dinosaur with the greeting card adds the perfect polished finish. The written pattern is also available on my blog in the description below. With that, let's get started.
Alright, so we're getting started on Jax the Raptor's pattern here, and we're going to begin with the body and working with this green colored yarn. And the very first thing that we need to do is form a magic ring. So let's go ahead and review how to get one of those formed and how to make our first single crochet stitch. Alright, so let's review how to form a magic ring. So we're going to start by taking a little length of our yarn, and I'm using white for this demonstration. Make sure you're using the correct color for the pattern that you are following along with. So I'm going to take this white, and I'm going to reserve myself a little bit of a tail. So I'm going to take the end of that yarn, and I'm going to stretch it so I've got about 5 inches or so of a tail. And the tail is going to be the end that is not attached to our ball of yarn. So once we've got about 5 inches or so reserved of that tail, we're going to take our yarn hand. For me, that's my left hand, but if you're a left-handed crocheter, this might be your right hand. But we're going to take our yarn hand and make a bit of a finger guns here. So my index and my middle finger, I'm going to put them together, and I'm going to be looking at the inside of them. Then I'm going to take that tail that I've reserved, that 5 inches, and I'm going to lay it so that it's over the lower digit on my index and my middle. And then I'll take my thumb and I'm going to press the yarn to those 2 fingers. Then I'm going to take my hook hand, which is for me my right hand, but could be your left hand, and I'm going to grab the working yarn. Once I've got that grabbed, I'll take it and I'm going to wrap it around the back side of my index and my middle finger so that it's sort of close to that top digit. I'll flip my hand over so you can see. So I want it to be close to my top digit, so you can see it's closer to the 2 tops of my fingers here. So we're going to wrap that around, and then once we've got it around the top digit of those 2 fingers, we're going to bring it so that it goes behind our thumb again. So I use my thumb and I pinch that second wrap in place. Then we're going to keep wrapping, this time going around the lower digit on our 2 fingers. So I'll flip my hand over so you can see these 2 wraps here. This is that one I just made, going around that lower digit. So we'll wrap around that lower digit, and then we're going to take our working yarn and one more time snug it behind our thumb, and then just pull it out of our way. So once we've done that, we should have 2 wraps and this sort of X shape on the insides of our hands. So once we have all of the yarn wrapped around our yarn hand here, we're ready to take our crochet hook in our hook hand, and we're going to flip our yarn hand over so that we're looking at the back side of our fingers. So we should have 2 wraps, one around the top digit, one around the lower digit on our yarn hand. We're going to take our hook and slip it underneath that top wrap, and then use the hook part to snag that lower wrap and bring it underneath the top wrap. Then we're going to take both of our hands and we're going to flip them over so that we're looking at the inside and away from our body. So I'm flipping out and away from my body. And then I'm going to bring my 2 hands together, so my yarn hand and my hook hand. I'm going to bring them so the index finger here on my hook hand can touch the back side of my yarn hand. Then using the thumb and index finger of my hook hand, I'm going to grab both the wrap on my hook and the wrap still on my fingers right where they meet. So I'm going to kind of snag the 2 of them together right there. Once I've got those pinched between my thumb and index finger on my hook hand, I can let go with my thumb and then gently slide those wraps off of my index and middle finger. So now that I've done that, let's locate both the tail, that's the end that's no longer attached to our ball of yarn, so it's got this blunt cut end on it, We're going to kind of pull that over into the 12 o'clock position. So kind of up and away. And then let's locate the working yarn. That's the stuff still attached to our ball of yarn. So once we've got those two identified, we're going to take the working yarn and begin tensioning it. So to do that, we'll take our index finger on our yarn hand. That for me is my left hand. Could be your right hand for you if you're a left-handed crocheter. And we're going to slip the working yarn over the top of our index finger. Then we'll take our middle, ring, and pinky finger on our yarn hand, and we're going to wrap those around that working yarn. Once you've done that, we also need to sandwich this working yarn in between our magic ring and our tail. So to do that, I like to take my middle finger and thumb on my yarn hand, and I'm going to grab that tail with my middle finger here. And then with my thumb, I want to grab the ring. So we don't want to grab our working yarn, which is kind of going in through that ring. We want to just get the bottom end of the ring here. And once you've got those two, we're going to kind of pinch them together. And you can see that sandwiches our working yarn in between the two of them. Once we've got those grabbed with our yarn hand, we can let go with our index and thumb on our hook hand. And the ring here that's on our hook is really loose. We'll tighten that by pulling our index finger up and away. You can see how that tightens that yarn. And then once we've done that, we're ready to yarn over and draw through the loop on our hook. So we'll take our hook, put the yarn over our hook. So I kind of just swing around the back side there and grab it. And we're going to pull that working yarn directly through the loop on our hook. Once we've done that, you can let go. It's not going to come undone. It won't come untied, which is very comforting because we've spent all this time creating it. The last thing we need to do before we're ready to begin is we're going to take the tail, and you can see it's threaded through our magic ring. We're going to take that tail and we're going to pull it out from the center of that ring. And from here, we're ready to begin working in the magic ring. We also need to work over the tail as well. So we'll take that ring and we'll take the tail and we're going to set them together so that we are working over both of these strands, the ring and the tail. All right, you are ready to go ahead and continue on in your pattern. All right, so I have my magic ring formed and I'm ready to go ahead and start in on round 1. And if you look at the top left-hand corner, you're going to see the instructions for the pattern. They're going to track with us as you work, so feel free to reference the left-hand corner in addition to the written pattern. All right, so for round 1, we need to put 6 single crochet stitches inside of our magic ring. And remember, we're working in both the ring and over the tail itself. So we're going to go through the ring and under the tail, and then yarn under and draw up a nice tall loop. And then yarn over and draw through both to form our first single crochet stitch. Then we're going to mark that single crochet stitch. And then we're going to continue adding single crochet stitches in this way until we have all 6 added to our magic ring. Alright, once you have all 6 of your single crochet stitches added to the magic ring, you can pull the tail to close off the first round. And then we're ready for round 2. So we'll take our stitch marker out, and we're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in each of the 6 stitches we made for round 1. Don't forget to put your marker back in the first stitch of the round. Alright, that wraps up round 2. I'm ready for round 3, where I'm going to begin by putting an increase in the first stitch of the round. And remember, an increase is when we put 2 stitches in the same place. So there's my first. I'm going to add a second single crochet stitch in that same stitch. Then I'm going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the next 5 stitches of the round. Alright, that wraps up round 3. Round 4, I'm just going to put one single crochet stitch in each of the 7 stitches I made for round 3. Alright, that's round 4. Before I move on to round 5, I'm going to take the magic ring tail and stuff it into my work to keep it out of my way. Alright, now that I have that magic ring tail tucked in, I'm ready to move on to round 5, where I'm going to begin by putting an increase in the first stitch of the round. And then one single crochet stitch in the next 6 stitches of the round. Alright, that wraps up round 5. For round 6, I'm going to put one single crochet stitch in each of the 8 single crochet I made in round 5. Alright, that was round 6 for me. I'm ready for round 7, where I'm going to have a parentheses pattern to repeat. I'm going to put one single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of the round. Then follow that with an increase. And I'll repeat that a second time. So 2 single crochet, increase, and then one single crochet stitch in the remaining 2 stitches of the round. Alright, that wraps up round 7. For round 8, I'm going to put one single crochet stitch in each of the 10 stitches I created in round 7. Alright, that's round 8 done. Round 9, I'm going to begin by putting one single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of the round. Follow that with an increase, then one single crochet stitch in the next 3 stitches of my round. Follow that with an increase, and then end by placing one single crochet stitch in the last 3 stitches of the round. Alright, that's round 9 done. For round 10, I'll just put one single crochet stitch in each of the 12 stitches I created from round 9. Alright, that's round 10 done for me. For round 11, we're going to begin by putting one single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of the round. Then we'll follow that with an increase, then one single crochet stitch in the next 4 stitches of the round. Then an increase in the next stitch, followed by one single crochet stitch in the remaining 4 stitches of the round. Alright, so for round 12, we're going to put one single crochet stitch in each stitch of the round. Round 13, we'll begin by putting one single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of the round. Followed by an increase. Then one single crochet stitch in the next 5 stitches of the round. Followed by another increase, and then one single crochet stitch in the remaining 5 stitches of the round. Round 14, we're going to put one single crochet stitch in each of the stitches of the round. Round 15, we're going to begin by putting one single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of our round. Then we'll follow that with an increase. Then one single crochet stitch in the next 6 stitches of the round. We'll follow that with an increase, and then end the round by placing one single crochet stitch in the remaining 6 stitches of the round. Round 16, we're going to put one single crochet stitch in each of the 18 stitches created in round 15, so just one in each stitch all the way around. Round 17, we have another parentheses pattern that we need to repeat. So we'll start by putting one single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of the round. Then follow that with an increase. Then we're going to repeat that sequence 5 more times for a total of 6 repetitions all the way around round 17. Round 18, we're going to just put one single crochet stitch in each of the 24 stitches we created from round 17. So that's just one single crochet in each stitch all the way around. Round 19, we're going to start by putting one single crochet stitch in the next 7 stitches of the round. And then we'll follow that with an increase. And then we're going to repeat that pattern 2 more times for a total of 3 repetitions all the way around. Round 20, we're going to just put 1 single crochet stitch in each of the 27 stitches we made from the last round. So that's just 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. Round 21, we're going to start by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 8 stitches of the round. Then we'll follow that with an increase. And then we'll repeat that pattern another 2 times for a total of 3 repetitions all the way around. Round 22, we're going to just put 1 single crochet stitch in each of the 30 single crochet stitches created from the last round. So that's just 1 single crochet stitch in each stitch all the way around. Round 23, we're going to start by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 9 stitches of the round. Then we're going to follow that with an increase. And repeat that pattern another 2 times for a total of 3 all the way around. So for rounds 24 through 29, we're just going to be putting 1 single crochet stitch in each of the 33 stitches of the round. So don't forget to move your stitch marker up at the beginning of each round, and I will see you back here whenever I have finished the last single crochet stitch of round 29. Alright, so I have just finished the last stitch of round 29, and I'm ready to move on to round 30, where I'm going to start by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 9 stitches of my round. Alright, now that I have those first 9 single crochet stitches done, I'm going to make a decrease in the next stitch. So again, to review, a decrease is where we're going to go through the next stitch, yarn under and draw up a loop. then go for the stitch after, yarn under and draw up a loop, then yarn over and draw through all 3 loops on my hook. Then I'm going to repeat that sequence of 9 single crochet decrease another 2 times for a total of 3 repetitions all the way around. Round 31, I'm just going to put 1 single crochet stitch in each of the 30 single crochet stitches created in round 30. So that's just 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. Round 32, I'm going to start by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 3 stitches of the round. And then follow that with a decrease. And I'm going to repeat that another 5 times for a total of 6 repetitions all the way around. For rounds 33 through 34, I'm just going to put 1 single crochet stitch in each stitch of the round. So I'll see you back here whenever I have wrapped up the last stitch of round 34. Alright, so I've just finished the last single crochet stitch in round 34, but before I move on to round 35, I want to take the time to stuff the body at this moment. So I'm going to take the loop on my hook and pull it long, take my hook out of that loop and set it aside. And then I need to stuff and make sure I get stuffing all the way down into the tail of Jax's body. So I'm going to start with a very small amount and send it inside, and I'm going to use my hook to sort of push it into the tail. Alright, so now that I have the tail stuffed, I'm going to go ahead and add some stuffing to the body of Jax. And I can add some more stuffing later. This is a good start for now. So I'm going to go ahead and take my hook, reinsert it into that loop I drew up long, and pull that loop back down. And I'm ready for round 35, where I'm going to place 1 single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of the round. Then I'll follow that with a decrease. And I'll repeat that pattern 5 more times for a total of 6 repetitions all the way around. Round 36, I'm going to start by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 4 stitches of the round. Then I'll follow that with a decrease. And I'll repeat that pattern another 2 times for a total of 3 repetitions. So for round 37, which is the last round of the body, we're going to put one single crochet stitch in each stitch all the way around. Alright, so there's my last single crochet. I'm ready to fasten off. So I'm going to take my stitch marker out, and I'm going to slip stitch to the stitch it was just in. So to slip stitch, we'll go through, yarn under and draw up a loop, and then draw that loop we just created through the only other loop on our hook. Then we need to cut a medium length tail to sew with 6 to 8 inches or so. And we'll pull the tail we just cut all the way through the slip stitch that we have on our hook. So we're just going to pull until the tail goes all the way through, and then tighten that slip stitch down. Now is also a good time to add some more stuffing to the body, so we're going to add just a little bit more. And that is the body done. Let's move on in our pattern. So next up in our pattern, we need to make Jax's head. So we're going to be working with that same green color that we used for the body, and begin with another magic ring. Alright, so I have my magic ring formed, and I'm ready to start in on round 1, where we're going to put 6 single crochet stitches inside of that magic ring. Once you have all 6 single crochet stitches, you can pull your magic ring tail to close off round 1, and we're ready for round 2, where we're going to put 1 increase in each of the 6 stitches from round 1. So again, remember, an increase is when we place 2 single crochet stitches in the same stitch from the previous round. That wraps up round 2, but before I move on to round 3, I'm going to pull my magic ring tail one final time and give it a trim so it stays out of my way as I continue working around. You can discard anything you don't use. So for round 3, we have a parentheses pattern that we're going to repeat, so I need to start by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the first stitch of the round. And then follow that with an increase. Then we're going to repeat that pattern 5 more times for a total of 6 repetitions all the way around. Round 4, we're going to start by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of the round. Then we'll follow that with an increase. And then we're going to repeat that sequence another 5 times for a total of 6 repetitions all the way around. Rounds 5 through 8, all we need to do is put 1 single crochet stitch in each stitch all the way around. So I will see you back here whenever I have finished the last single crochet stitch of round 8. I've just finished the last single crochet stitch of round 8, and I'm ready to move on to round 9, where I'm going to start by putting 1 single crochet stitch in the next 3 stitches of the round. Then I'm going to follow that with an increase. And repeat that sequence 5 more times for a total of 6 repetitions. Round 10, I'm just going to put one single crochet stitch in each of the 30 stitches I created from round 9. So one single crochet stitch in each stitch of the round. Round 11, I'm going to put one single crochet stitch in the next 4 stitches of the round. Then follow that with an increase. And repeat that sequence another 5 times for a total of 6 repetitions all the way around. Rounds 12 and 13, we're just going to put one single crochet stitch in each stitch of the round. So I will see you back here whenever I have finished round 13. I've just finished the last single crochet stitch in round 13, and I'm ready to move on to round 14, where I'm going to put one single crochet stitch in the next 4 stitches of my round. Then I'm going to follow that with a decrease, and then repeat this sequence another 5 times for a total of 6 repetitions all the way around. Rounds 15 and 16, I'm just going to put one single crochet stitch in each stitch of the round. So I'll see you back here whenever I've finished the last single crochet stitch in round 16. Alright, so I've just finished the last single crochet stitch in round 16, and before I move on to round 17, we need to add Jax's eyes. So I'm going to take this last stitch on my hook and pull it long, and then remove my hook from that loop. And the eyes are going to be in between rounds 9 and 10 and are about 12 stitches apart. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one of my safety eyes. And a quick note, if you're giving Jax to a young child or a pet, you may want to embroider the eyes on instead of using safety eyes. But if you're like me, you can use safety eyes here. And I'm going to take the stem of my safety eye and count from our magic ring up to rounds 9 and 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's the space between round 9 and 10, and I'm going to push this first eye through. And then I'm going to take my second eye, and I need to count 12 stitches across to place the second eye. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and place the second eye. So they should be kind of on opposite sides of Jax's head. You can, of course, move the eyes if you'd like them to be closer together or further apart, but I'm going to leave mine right where they are and go ahead and snap the plastic backs of my safety eye on. Alright, now that I have the safety eyes added, I'm going to go ahead and put my crochet hook back in that loop and tighten it down. And I'm ready to move on to round 17, where I'm going to put one single crochet stitch in the next 3 stitches of the round. Then I'm going to follow that with a decrease. And I'll repeat that sequence another 5 times for a total of 6 repetitions all the way around. Round 18, we're going to put one single crochet stitch in each of the 24 stitches created in round 17. So one single crochet in each stitch all the way around. Round 19, we're going to begin by putting one single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of the round. And then follow that with a decrease. And we'll repeat that pattern another 5 times for a total of 6 repetitions. Round 20, which is the last round of the head, we're going to put one single crochet stitch in the next stitch of the round. And then follow that with a decrease. And then repeat that sequence 5 more times all the way around. Alright, so we are ready to fasten off the head. We can do that by taking our stitch marker out and by placing a slip stitch in the stitch it was just in, then cutting a medium length tail and pulling that last slip stitch all the way through until the tail goes through as well. And then we're going to tighten that slip stitch down. And before we close off this last round, let's go ahead and add some stuffing to Jax's head. Alright, now that I have the head stuffed, I'm ready to close off this last round. So I'm going to take that tail that I've just cut and thread it through the eye of my yarn needle. And then I'm going to sew through just the front loops of each of the stitches left over from round 20. So we've been working through both loops, both the front and back. We're going to be grabbing just the front loop here and sewing through each one to close off this last round. Once you've sewn through all of the front loops, you can pull that last tail to close the round. And then we're going to tie a knot to secure this cinch. So I'm going to make a loop over the surface of my work. Grab just a little bit of the fabric of my work and sew up through that loop. And then pull until my tail ties a knot. Then I'm going to sew down into the head and out through any place, doesn't really matter where, to weave that tail in. Then I'll unthread my yarn needle, and by pulling that tail tight and trimming close to the surface of the work, I'll weave in the tail. You can discard anything you didn't end up using. So now that we have Jax's head stuffed and closed, let's go ahead and add the eyebrow. So we're going to take some more of that green colored yarn. I'm going to thread it through the eye of my yarn needle again. And I'm going to send the yarn needle up and to the bottom corner of one of his eyes. But I'm not going to pull this thread all the way through. I'm going to leave a little tail on the outside. Then I'm going to run the green yarn along the top of Jax's eye and then send it across to do the same on the other eye on the other side. And that creates his eyelid. I'll do the same on this side. And then send it across and back out through the place where I have that tail from when I started sewing. So that gives Jax his eyelids. We can unthread our yarn needle and we'll tie these two tails together in a square knot. Trim them really short. And then using our yarn needle, we can take the end and go down through the fabric of Jax's head right next to where that knot is tied. And then by pulling the fabric up and then pushing those tails in, it'll hide them inside of Jax's head. Let's go ahead and embroider the smile on as well. So we'll get some of our black embroidery floss, and I'm going to send it into Jax's head in between the spaces of some stitches here. And just like with his eyelid, I'm going to leave a little on the outside. And then also a smile across the front of Jax's face. And then I'm going to make sure that the smile stays by anchoring it with a stitch in the middle. So there's one really long straight stitch that I've done for his mouth. I'm going to sew underneath that long straight stitch and then back down through the stitch I came up through and then out through the stitch that I sewed into where the tail is. And that will keep Jax's smile in place. So we can go ahead and unthread our embroidery needle. And just like with the eyelid, we're going to tie these two tails together. Cut them really short. And then using our yarn needle again, we'll go down into the fabric of the head and then pull the fabric up while pushing those tails inside. Alright, so there's the smile and the eyelids added. Let's go ahead and attach Jax's head to his body. So we're going to start by threading the tail left over from Jax's body through the eye of our yarn needle. And then Jax's head is going to attach onto his body so that his smile is centered and his tail is pointing down. And we're going to go and sew through some of the stitches left over from this last round that we crocheted on the body, and then some of the stitches of the head. And we're just going to work our way around, sewing through until we've gone all the way around and the head is secure. Alright, I have sewn all the way around and Jax's head is attached to his body. So I'm going to tie another surface knot here, so looping my yarn over the surface of my work, sewing up into some of the fabric and through that loop I've tied, and then pulling that tail until I get a knot. And then I'll weave that tail in by sewing it into some of the fabric of his head or his body, doesn't really matter which. Then once I've done that, I can unthread my yarn needle, and by pulling that tail tight and trimming, I can discard any extra. And that is Jax's head attached to his body. So let's move on in our pattern. Alright, so next up we're going to make Jax's feet. So we need to make 4 of these and then we will assemble and attach them. So I'll walk you through how to make the first and then you need to make 3 more. We're going to begin with this green yarn and by forming another magic ring. Once you've got your magic ring formed, we're ready to go ahead and start in on round 1, which is to put 6 single crochet stitches inside of this magic ring. Once you've got all 6 single crochet stitches formed, you can pull the tail to close the magic ring. And we're ready for round 2, where we're going to increase in each stitch all the way around. Alright, that's round 2 done for me. For rounds 3 through 5, we just need to put 1 single crochet stitch in each stitch all the way around. So I will catch you back here whenever I have finished the last single crochet stitch of round 5. Alright, so I've just finished the last single crochet stitch for round 5. I'm ready for round 6, where we're going to start by putting one single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of the round. Then follow that with a decrease. Then we're going to repeat that sequence another 2 times for a total of 3 repetitions. Then for round 7 and 8, we're going to put one single crochet stitch in each stitch all the way around. So I'll see you back here whenever I have finished the last single crochet stitch of round 8. Alright, so I just wrapped up round 8. Before I finish with round 9, I'm going to add some stuffing to the inside of the foot here. Alright, so now that I have stuffed the foot, I'm ready to go ahead and make the last round, which is round 9, where I'm going to put one single crochet stitch in the next stitch of the round. And then decrease. Then repeat that pattern 2 more times. And that wraps up the foot, so we're ready to fasten off. We can take our stitch marker out, and we'll slip stitch to the stitch it was just in. Then we need to cut a tail to sew with, and then pull that last slip stitch and tail through, and then tighten that slip stitch down. Then we'll also need to close up the back of the foot, so we can take our tapestry needle and thread it with that tail that we've just cut. And then, just like we did on the back of the head, we're going to sew through each of the front loops left from our last round of crochet. Once you've sewn through all 6 front loops, you can pull to close that last round off. But we don't want to cut this because we're going to be using it to assemble the feet and the legs. So that is 1 done. Let's make 3 more and then get them assembled. Alright, so I have 2 of my feet complete, and I wanted to show you how to assemble them whenever you have all 4 of them done. So I'm going to go ahead and close up the back of this foot, and then I'm going to take the tail left over from the bottom of this foot and sew it up so it's close to the top of the leg. So we're going to want to do this with 2 of the feet that we make because those will be attaching to the body. So now that I've done that, I'm ready to attach this leg to the foot. So I'm going to unthread my tapestry needle and rethread it with the other tail from the other foot. And they're going to attach so that the leg sort of attaches to probably like 1, 2, 3 rows back from the last round that we made. So I'll take this tail and I'm going to sew it so that it comes up through just a little bit shy of halfway. Then I'm going to use that tail to sew the leg to the foot by sewing through some of the fabric of the leg and some of the fabric of the foot. And I'm just going to work my way around, securely attaching the 2 of these together. So once you have the 2 attached, we can go ahead and weave this tail that we've been sewing in. So we'll tie a surface knot and weave that tail in. But leave the other tail attached because we're going to be using that tail to attach the leg to Jax's body. So let's continue making the other 2 feet and getting them assembled, and then we'll attach them to Jax. Alright, so I have both of my feet made and sewn, and I'm ready to go ahead and get them attached to Jax's body. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Jax And the legs are going to attach to either side of his body. So I kind of turn him so I can see that they're centered. And once I've got them where I want them positioned, I'm going to thread that tail that I saved from the leg through the eye of my tapestry needle. And then I'm going to use it to attach the leg to Jax's body. So I'm going to sew mine at a little bit of an angle. You can angle it less or more if you'd like. And then to attach it, we're going to sew into some of the fabric of Jax's body and up through some of the fabric of his leg. And we're just going to continue sewing I'm going to sew along the top of the leg, and then I'm going to anchor the leg to the body by sewing through the fabric of the body and then sewing through the leg, so sort of in between the two layers of the fabric, all the way through to the front. Then I'm going to tack that back down and sew it a couple of times through the body to sort of help anchor the leg onto the body. And you want to pull that stitch pretty tight. Alright, so I have the leg on this side attached. I'm going to go ahead and tie a knot and weave the tail in. Once you've got the tail woven in, you can trim. And that is one leg attached. Let's repeat with the other leg on the other side. Alright, that is both of the legs attached. So we're ready to move on in our pattern. Alright, so next up we need to make the arm, and we're going to do that again with the same green color we've used on the rest of the body, and by forming a magic ring. Then once you've got your magic ring formed, we're going to place 6 single crochet stitches inside for round 1. When you've got all 6 of your single crochet stitches placed, you can pull your magic ring tail. And we are ready for round 2, where we're going to put 1 single crochet stitch in the next 2 stitches of the round. And then an increase. And then we're going to repeat that a second time, so 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, increase. So that's round 2. So for rounds 3 through 9, all we need to do is put 1 single crochet stitch in every stitch all the way around. So I will see you back here whenever I have finished round 9 of single crochet. Alright, so I just finished up round 9 and I'm ready to fasten off. So I'm going to go ahead and take my stitch marker out, and I'm going to slip stitch in the stitch it was just in. Then I'll cut a medium length tail to sew with, and pull that tail through that last slip stitch, and then tighten that slip stitch down. And at this point, if you'd like to stuff the arms, you can stuff them here. I'm going to leave mine unstuffed because I want them to be posable. So that is one arm done. Let's go ahead and make another and then get them attached to the body. Alright, I have both of my arms crocheted and I'm ready to go ahead and add them to Jax's body. So here's Jax. And they're going to be positioned so they're sort of angled towards the front and in line with Jax's legs. And regardless of if you stuffed or didn't stuff, we're going to attach them the same way. So we'll start by threading one of the tails through the eye of our tapestry needle. And then we're we're going to flatten the tops of the arms and sew through both layers of the fabric as we attach them. So I'll position the arm here on the side of the body, and I'm going to grab some fabric from the body and sew through both layers of the arm. And I'll continue whip stitching, sewing through some of the fabric of the body and then all of the fabric of the arms until I've sewn all the way across on the top of the arm. So once you've sewn all the way across on the top of the arm and it is fully attached, make sure your tapestry needle and yarn are coming out of the body, and we'll tie another surface knot and weave the tail into the body itself, and then cut that tail short to weave it in. So that is one arm attached. Let's repeat on the other side with the other arm. Alright, that is both of the arms attached. So let's move on to the last part of our pattern. Alright, so last up we need to make the head detail for Jax. So we're going to be using this lighter colored green. And we're going to begin by tying a slip knot and chaining. So let's review how to get a slip knot tied and then how to chain. Alright, so let's review how to tie a slip knot and how to form a chain stitch. So we're going to take our yarn, and I'm using white for this demonstration, so just double check you're using the correct color from your pattern. And we're going to reserve ourselves a little bit of a tail, just like we do with our magic ring. So I'm going to take maybe 5 or 6 inches or so of my working yarn here, make myself a little tail, and then we're going to take that tail and we're going to wrap it behind our working yarn. So we're sort of making like a lowercase letter B. So once we've got that wrapped around, we formed this loop here. We're going to kind of sandwich the working yarn with the tail. So bring it back around and kind of cross it over that loop. Sort of like a pretzel twist. Then when we've done that, what we need to do is draw this twist that we've just done, that strand, through this loop without pulling the tail all the way through, because that would just tie a knot. So I take my hook hand, which is my right hand, and I grab what I've laid over that loop and pull it, and then with my other hand I grab my working yarn and then pull the loop through. And the reason I form my slip knots this way is because they tighten when you pull on the tail, but not when you pull on the working yarn. It won't tighten while you're trying to add stitches to it. So once you've got that slip knot formed, you're going to take your hook and slip it inside of the slip knot, and then pull the tail to tighten it into a loop down onto your hook. Then you're ready to begin tensioning by laying the working yarn over your yarn index finger. So for me that's my left index finger. And then wrapping the rest of your fingers around our working yarn. And then I like to hold on to the slip knot itself with my middle and thumb on my yarn hand. And then we're ready to form a chain. So to chain, we'll take our hook and we're going to yarn over, meaning we're going to put the yarn over our hook, and then draw the working yarn through the slip knot we tied, and then pull up to form a nice tall loop. So that's our first chain. To continue chaining, we're going to just keep yarning over and drawing a nice tall loop through each time. One final thing though, the loop on your hook, as I'm sure I may have mentioned in the video before, that doesn't count as a stitch. This is sort of like a stitch in progress. So right now I have 2 chain stitches formed. I'll yarn over and draw another stitch through. That'll be 3, 4. And as you add chain stitches, I tend to move my middle and my thumb up closer to my hook to help me sort of tension my yarn a little easier. So as I chain, I just keep shifting my hand down the stitches that I've just created. Alright, so that's how you tie a slip knot and chain. Alright, so now that we have our slip knot formed, all we need to do is chain 12 stitches. Once you have all 12 stitches chained, we need to cut a medium length tail to sew with. And to fasten off after cutting our tail, we're going to pull our yarn through that last chain that we made, and then just keep pulling until it pulls all the way through, and then tighten it down. So that is one of the head details made. Let's make one more and then get them attached to Jax. Alright, so I have both of the chain head details made here, and I'm ready to get them attached to Jax. So I'm going to start by threading the shorter slip knot tail of one of those through my tapestry needle. And I'm going to sew that tail down to help anchor this in place. So they're going to kind of go from the cinch at the back of Jax's head up just above his eye. So I'm going to use this to sort of hold my detail in place by weaving it in. So I'm going to sew it through until it goes into his head. Then I'll use the longer tail, so thread the eye of my needle with that, and I'm going to sew the longer tail through that cinched opening in the back of Jax's head, and then up through where I wove that first tail in. So that's going to pull the back of this chain head detail into the opening of his head, and then anchor that first section down. And then I'm going to continue sewing along this chain just to help keep it in place. Once I've done that, I can tie a surface knot. I'm going to do that right in the chain because the chain's the same color as the yarn I'm sewing with. And then I'll weave this in by sewing it back down through the opening in the back of the head, and then just out through any old place. Then I'm going to cut both of the tails, the one I just sewed with, and the magic ring one. And that is one of the head details added. Let's repeat with the other one on the other side. Alright, now that I have the head details added, Jax the raptor is complete.